We are discussing the wonderful prayers that are given by sage Nārada to King Citraketu to meditate on for his perfection. Please note very carefully that the prayers, they actually go from the Brahman realized platform to the Bhagavan realized platform in progression. So the verse that we read yesterday, it was specifically called out by Srila Prabhupada that the impersonal Brahman, which is the effulgence of the Lord, is described in this verse. And we could see the specific Sanskrit that is used there is Anama Rupa in 21, verse number 21. Anama means that entity who does not have any material designation, or one who cannot be referred to from materialistic platform. And therefore, this is capturing the impersonal Brahman aspect of the absolute truth. So the prayers are actually taking the practitioner through the progression of realization from Brahman, then Paramatma, and then Bhagavan. And that's what we're going to see. So in the 22nd verse, Nārada Muni is sharing that obeisances to the super soul. And what is the specific nature of the super soul? The super soul is the cause of the universe, within whom creation, maintenance, and annihilation takes place. And we can also relate that to super soul being the feature of Vishnu, the Kshirodakashayi Vishnu, who is present in every aspect and the nook and corner of creation. So Prabhupada writes in the purport number 22 that super soul is the cause of the cosmic manifestation, maintains it after creation, and after annihilation, the Lord is the reservoir of everything. So in this way, we can see that then the example now will make sense. As pots made completely of earth and situated on earth, as pots made completely of earth are situated on earth after being created and are transformed into earth again when broken. This cosmic manifestation is caused by the Supreme Brahman, situated in the Supreme Brahman and annihilated in the same Supreme Brahman. Therefore, since the Supreme Lord is the cause of Brahman, let us offer our respectful obeisances. So you can see that in the verse, the personality of Godhead is referred to as the Supreme Brahman. Okay, and that Supreme Brahman is non-different from the Paramatma. And that message continues on to the 23rd verse, that the Supreme Brahman emanates from the Supreme Personality of Godhead and expands like the sky. Although untouched by anything material, it exists within and without. Nonetheless, the mind, intelligence, senses, and living force can neither touch him nor know him. I offer unto him my respectful obeisances. So here in the context of 23rd verse, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur points out that this particular verse is offering respects and obeisances to the inconceivable Lord who is beyond the senses. He cannot be touched by the actions of the senses or known by the knowledge acquiring senses. So one may say that that's because he is far away. But no, it's because he is within all bodies and other phenomena, but also outside them simultaneously. And in the 24th verse, now he calls out that super soul is what is infusing the material senses, mind, and intellect, which are otherwise dull, with energy. So what is spoken here? So as iron has the power to burn when made red hot in the association of fire, so the body, senses, living force, mind, and intelligence, although merely lumps of matter, can function in their activities when infused with a particle of consciousness by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As iron cannot burn unless heated by fire, the bodily senses cannot act unless favored by the Supreme Brahman. So you can see 22, 23, and 24. These are the three verses which are dedicated to the super soul realization of the absolute truth. Although the specific reference we find is Supreme Brahman. But 21st verse was referring to the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his feature as the impersonal Brahman. Okay. So now here in the purport number 24, Srila Prabhupada takes the opportunity to drive home the point that therefore we should be fully dependent on Krishna. The power for activities comes from the Supreme Lord. And when the Lord withdraws this power, the conditioned soul no longer has energy with which to act through his various senses. This description is very nice. Since the brain is a lump of matter, it does not have independent power with which to act. It can act only when favored by the influence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is Brahman or Parabrahman. So Parabrahman is basically the Supreme Brahman or the Paramatma. Okay. This is the way to understand how the Supreme Brahman, Krishna, is present everywhere. Just as the sunshine is present because of the sun god in the sun globe. The Supreme Lord is called Rishikesh. He is the only conductor of the senses. Unless empowered by his energy, our senses cannot act. In other words, he is the only seer, the only worker, the only listener, and the only active principle or supreme controller. Srila Jiva Goswami, along the line of how Krishna is empowering everything in our existence, the mind, the senses, through his feature as the Supreme Brahman. So Sri Jiva Goswami writes in this context that I offer respects to that Brahman. The reason for the mind and senses not knowing Brahman can be understood in this way. The body, senses, mind, and life forces or prana are each endowed with a portion of the Brahman's consciousness and move toward their respective objects. But without the Lord, each of them is like unheated iron, which cannot burn. Just as iron can burn when the power or Shakti of fire is applied to it. But iron itself is unable to burn anything. So similarly, the body, senses, mind, and pranas are moved to action by Brahman's knowledge or jnana and action or kriya. So jnana, kriya, these are the two things. So the Shakti that is being referred to here is basically divided into jnana, bala, kriya, cha. So jnana and bala. So jnana is generally understood to be knowledge, but here it is being understood to be the knowledge of Brahman. And likewise, kriya are the actions of the Parabrahman. So jnana and kriya, these are the two things that form the sum and substance of the Shakti, which is empowering the living entity to function. But of themselves, they cannot touch or know Brahman. So even the ability to understand the absolute truth or Brahman is coming from that empowerment or Shakti. Okay. And then the final verse from Nārada's mantra. So this is through 9 verses, Nārada Muni is giving King Citraketu the mantras to chant, and we are understanding the meanings of that mantra. So now you will see how that realization of the absolute truth reaches the highest level in text number 25. And that is the position of the absolute truth as Bhagavan, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the mantra says, O transcendental Lord, who are situated in the topmost planet of the spiritual world. So this is the Bhagavan feature, right? Your two lotus feet are always massaged by a multitude of the best devotees with their lotus bud hands. You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, complete in six opulences. You can see now the personal feature of the Supreme Lord has been highlighted. The personality of Godhead is always full of opulences. So, full of six opulences. You are the Supreme Person mentioned in the Purusha Shukta prayers. So, here comes the reference to the Purusha Shukta. You are the most perfect, self realized master of all mystic power. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto you. So, in the purport number 25, Srila Prabhupada therefore takes the opportunity to remind us of the supreme kindness of Krishna to reciprocate with us on the path of bhakti. That the previous verse is described, so you can see now Prabhupada actually bringing everything together. The previous verses describe the Brahman and Paramatma features of the absolute truth. Now, the prayer is offered in Bhakti Yoga to the absolute supreme person. The words used in this regard are Sakala Satvata Parivridha. Sorry, Parivridha, not Vridha. Parivridha. The word Satvat means devotees and Sakala means altogether. The devotees who also have lotus feet serve the lotus feet of the Lord with their lotus hands. The reference was lotus bud hands. The devotees may sometimes not be competent to serve the lotus feet of the Lord, and therefore the Lord is addressed as Parama, Parameshtin. He is the supreme person, yet he is very kind to the devotees. No one is competent to serve the Lord, but even if a devotee is not competent, the merciful Lord accepts the humble attempt of the devotee. And therefore, he is the most perfect self-realized master of all mystic power. It's a very beautiful purport, bringing humility in the heart of the practitioner, that we are not competent to serve the Supreme Lord. But even though we are not competent, the merciful Lord accepts the humble attempt from all of us. Now let's bring all of the mantras together, like how they are fitting in. So it all started with 18th verse, right? 18th through 24. So it started like this. That so first of all, in one sense, the mantra is revealing the absolute truth. That's one way of looking at it. And you can say another way of saying the same thing would be, it's revealing the absolute truth as the supreme absolute person. Okay. So the absolute truth is a person, even though he has unlimited names, form, qualities, and potencies. That's what was highlighted in text number 18 and 19. That he has unlimited forms, qualities, and potencies. Right? Then in the 20th verse, it is pointed out that that personality is filled with bliss, while he is transcendental to the material nature and is the greatest. And that same personality who is filled with bliss has expanded into unlimited forms. And then, understanding that he has now expanded into unlimited forms, Now we can enter into understanding the three levels, Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. That he is the person, even when he is formless as Brahman, which is made of pure consciousness and is the cause of matter. Yasya Prabha Prabhavato Jagad Andakoti, right? He is the basis for the existence of the cosmic manifestation, right? So cause of matter in that sense. So that was 21st verse. He is a person, even when he is the super soul, the cause of the cosmos. That was text number 22. And he's a person, even though he cannot be approached through the material senses. And he's a person, even as he is the life and controller of the senses of the living entities. The senses, intelligence, life force. That was 24. So 23rd and 24 together are focusing on how he is unapproachable by our material senses while he is empowering our senses, mind, intelligence, and life force. And finally, that absolute truth will reveal his supreme personal position to those who come to him with bhakti and perform devotional service. And that's the essence of all these prayers. So you can see that the prayers actually are sprinkled over these 9 verses, starting from the 18th verse, right, all the way to the 25th verse, right? That's the final verse of the Narada's mantra. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he just adds another flavor to it, that call for mercy that is embedded within the mantra. That having explained the knowledge aspect of this great mantra, Narada now speaks of its perfection in Bhakti Ras. That, O Lord with lotus feet, which are massaged with affection by the bud-like lotus hands of many excellent devotees. So the hint is this: please establish me also in the service of massaging your feet. That the Lord may ask, but you are very low. How can I engage you in such high service? So, O Parameshtin, you are the supreme among supreme lords and can do what others cannot. And that's the reason why I am so low, who cannot be engaged in such a high service, but still your causeless mercy will enable me to do so. And that's the mood that is captured in the pinnacle verse or 25th verse here. So I hope you developed some appreciation of the mantra or the prayer that is given by Nārada Muni to King Citraketu for him to meditate on. And as he promised that in 7 nights, he will get the darshan of Sankarshan, his Lord and Master. So thank you very much.